Next team up, which was one of the favorites to get KD, was the Miami Heat. And I thought the Miami Heat had a few pieces that they could make work. You throw Kyle Lowry and you throw a couple other guys and you could make it work. But then it's back to the same issue. As you mentioned, Sean Marks, he came out and he said, we need Bam. You know what I mean? And KD's not going to – I mean, maybe you can get away with it, but KD's going over to Miami to play with Jimmy and Bam. There's no way around it, So
Yeah, and there's a weird rule that makes throwing Bam in this trade very, very complicated. And if you look past Bam on that roster, starts to look pretty bad. You're talking about a Tyler Hero-centered trade, Duncan Robinson-centered trade. It's just not – It's
not happening.
Not happening again. It's tough. You keep looking at options and you keep checking them off the list like, nope, not that. Nope, not that one. But the next one up is the Golden State Warriors, and we haven't heard this out of the mouth of anyone in KD's circle in terms of his interest in going there. But on the Golden State side, there's obvious connections between them winning a chip, being tested and true together, and I could see it potentially working. I think they have the best offer. Jordan Poole, Wiggins, a bunch of picks, Moody. They got a lot of young, talented, upside guys you could throw in this trade. What are your thoughts?
You said it, man. I think it's insane how, this new ownership group came in. Now it seems, I think it's about 8 to 10 years. It's really just pretty recent, They've been able to completely change the history and the face of this franchise, right? Basically going from doormats in the league, the fourth best team in California alone, right? So the fourth best team in California, no real history except for that one run where they beat the Dallas Mavericks as the 8th seed. They come around and really change the face of this thing, man. They draft right, they manage right, they win championships, and still just so happen to draft right and make great moves in the offseason and never seem to be spending too much for it. Barring that Kevin Durant move, they haven't really signed any major free agents. The other major free agent before Kevin Durant was Andre Iguodala in 2014 or 15. Just let that sit in for a second, guys, right? So I say all of that to say this, right? The best offer is going to come from the Golden State Warriors. They are absolutely loaded with picks. They're loaded with young talent. Throw in a Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, and as you mentioned, some picks, that deal begins to get very, very interesting. You know what I mean? I have kind of a different look on it. We can't forget as to why Kevin Durant left in the first place, And as you mentioned, we haven't had anyone from him. We haven't had himself or anyone from his circle explicitly say there's interest in going to the Golden State Warriors. But again, all signs are now pointing to Golden State. I personally think we're going to get back to the same reason as to why he left in the first place. In the hearts of the Golden State Warriors fans and in the hearts of the true fans of the NBA, Kevin Durant will always be second fiddle to Stephen Curry. You know what I mean? The debate has always been LeBron James, Steph Curry, right? And KD can go in there and win the 2 finals MVPs, right? But it's something about Steph being homegrown there, right? Something about Steph being there from the beginning of his career and not leaving and being so successful with this franchise. I think that in itself will stop Kevin Durant from going there because KD has that God complex. He's got to be the man, And so those are my thoughts on why the Warriors situation might not work out.
Yeah, and that's all even under the assumption that Golden State wants this. They're coming off a championship where they're in a prime position to contend again. Who's to say that they don't want to, as I've heard others refer to it, trade tomorrow for yesterday? And that's what they'd be doing by going back in time to trade for Kevin Durant. But then again, going back to your point and saying this might not be what Kevin Durant wants, and I agree with that sentiment, I don't think we've seen a player ask for a trade with this much leverage before. First you have to cancel out and just look for players that have asked for trades that are on his talent level. And the most recent memory, AD, before that, Kawhi Leonard. AD was able to force that only with the strong hand of Rich Paul and LeBron James on the throat of the league. But outside of that pressure, Kawhi didn't get traded where he wanted. He didn't want to go to Toronto.
Hell no.
And that wasn't even good enough to make him stay.
Yeah.
And that's a situation where Kawhi was still ascending and not the player he is looked at least today, for sure. And the Spurs were okay with, all right, this is not a star. He's close. He's going to be one. We can get away with moving him where he doesn't want to go.
Yeah,
Plus, he ain't gonna say nothing because he doesn't say anything at all.
hundred
KD
percent.
is not that guy. You cannot do that if you're Brooklyn. You can't just trade him for Scotty Barnes like the media is suggesting. You can't send him anywhere you want, and that alone makes things interesting. You gotta now make three parties happy. You gotta
Yeah,
make the Nets happy. You gotta make the team you're trading him with happy, and you gotta make KD happy.
it's a really tough spot to be in. God bless his agent these next couple of weeks, right? But you said it perfectly, beautifully said, Tyler. So we went into who we think are the favorites, talking about sending him anywhere, right? Who are some teams that you think can even be in this conversation of trading for Kevin Durant? They have the pieces to be able to acquire him, being able to afford him once he's there. Like, who is someone maybe we haven't heard of or talked about that you think could potentially be in this conversation?
I got one surprise squad, and I'm not sure they want to do it, but that team for me is the Los Angeles Clippers. If they want the better player, obviously, is to sacrifice some assets to get there, they can trade Paul George for Kevin Durant. Paul George and some picks. Paul George would instantly become one of the better offers. You're thinking Jaylen Brown, Andrew Wiggins are the other two, off the top of my head, best players I can see getting offered right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think Phoenix is going to put Booker in. So he's on par with that level of player. Finished with the top 3 MVP voting in recent years. So I could see that. But I don't know, again, do the Clippers want to part with two guys that are from LA, have committed to LA, are trying to help move into a new stadium,
And have been waiting 2 or 3 years just to play together so far. You know what I mean? So that you make a valid point, but actually when you said that, it kind of it lit a light bulb. I'm like, wait a minute, wait just a gosh darn second, Tyler, you might be onto something here, because they undoubtedly get better. At the end of the day, player for player, Kevin Durant is a better player than Paul George will ever be.
Facts.
Right? But compared to all the other names that you're getting, which you mentioned, Paul George is the best of the bunch. You know what I'm saying? So the Clippers could actually be scary in their ability to please kind of Kevin Durant and the Nets. Another team, and again, a surprise squad for me. They're not in this conversation. I don't even think they have the pieces. They might have the young guys, but they definitely don't have a star to trade away. But I would have loved to see the fit. Is Kevin Durant down in Memphis playing with Ja Morant? You know what I'm saying? I think with the system and the coach that they have in place, you give up a Jaren Jackson, a couple other. Again, it's just never going to be enough for Kevin Durant. You could throw 6 picks in, right? But the end result of him playing, I would love to see those two guys play together. I think that would be a sick duo,
I agree. That would be dope. The only thing, I love what Jaren Jackson does for their defense, and losing him would be crazy. He led the league in blocks last year. Very underrated defender.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? That's the only person you could get away with trading. You know what I mean? Because you're not giving up Ja Morant. You know what I'm saying? And there's no one else who even has any oomph behind their name other than Jaren. So,
Bro, we went through 6 of the 29 eligible teams. We could go through all 29, and it would be tough. We'd still be here like, damn, that'd be good, but damn, this would be good, but damn. And that's why we see the report. There's no momentum towards a deal. And to be honest, I think that might be just the way Brooklyn wants it. Firas, I heard you got a theory.
Tyler, my brother, thank you for setting me up so well. This is the home of the hoop plug, right? This is where we're bringing the flavor, the season, everything to your ear. You know what I'm saying? And this time around, I got a hot, dare I say, spicy take. You know what I'm saying? And not too many people have come out. I don't think I've actually heard this take one time. So some may call me crazy, but some may call me crazy enough. You know what I'm saying? So I say all that to say this, man. After all the drama, the headache, the uncertainty, I think in a couple weeks when all this is over, said and done, Kevin Durant will be staying with the Brooklyn Nets. Yup, I said it. After all of this drama, all of this melee, all of this headache, I think he stays. Solely for 2 reasons, right? The first reason is Sean Marks and them boys in the management team over in Brooklyn, They don't have to do anything. Although KD does have a say in this, if they don't get a deal, which they've already let us know, worth it, they are not trading Kevin Durant. That's the first one. And second off, to be quite frank, I don't think there's any situation left where KD will go and genuinely be happy. I don't think there is a good trade partner. We mentioned if he goes to the Suns, they've got to give up Devin Booker. If he goes to the Heat, let's not even talk about that. The Warriors, you know what I'm trying to say? So I say all that to say this, man. I think it's going to come down to realizing sometimes the best situation is the one that you got right in front of you. You know what I mean? And so I'm going to go as far as to say this, right? If KD stays with the Nets and Kyrie Irving is back full-time, and I don't expect COVID to be back now, I am predicting that this Brooklyn Nets team will be in the Eastern Conference Finals next year. With their, I almost don't want to even say what's about to come out of my mouth, a healthy Ben Simmons at the helm.
Physically and emotionally. Okay, I see it. I see the vision. I like your thought process there. I'm still going to call it 50-50 KD being on the squad by the opening tip.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with everything you said, man. Like, if you're the Nets front office, option A isn't get a great haul for KD and get a great haul for Kyrie. Option A is keep them on the team. That's plan A. And maybe just dealing with this shit show of a summer and dealing with actually having to talk to potential trade partners is the crappy route and hole you've dug yourself into. But if it leads you to a uniting force, right? Like we saw The Last Dance, a Bulls team unified by playing for the final time, playing out a year when they knew they weren't going to pay for
Scotty
pretty much to keep the band together. Yes,
facts.
all the individual guys outside of Michael. Why not have The Last Dance in Brooklyn, right? Kyrie got one more. KD, you might as well strap in, bro. We can't find a partner. But you know what? You guys can band together and give it an old college try one last time.
Ty, that's amazing. You're 100%. You hit the nail on the head, man. That's where I think it's going. But at the same time, as you mentioned, there's a lot of things that are in the air. But KD, Kyrie, like you said, strap up your boots. It's time to go to work, and no better place than to go to work in Brooklyn. They both will not find a better situation than the one that they currently have, you know?
Well said. I could re-emphasize that, but you know that was perfectly said, man. If KD goes to another team with a couple other superstars, he is no longer the bus driver. He is riding his coattails to his third championship. So you know that's not going to mean as much to him because it's not going to mean as much to the folks on Twitter, and those two are everly connected.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You mentioned it. I think, we kind of said what we both had to say. Ty, you got any closing thoughts on this topic before we head on out of here, brother?
No, nothing here.
With that being said, that marks another special, illustrious, lit episode of the Hoop Plug, baby. As always, put some flavor in your ear.
Peace.